This is slavery as a medium for the establishment of USA.
It is not a secret how the USA actually works. Year by year, war by war, each time thousands of people notice they are not the good ones, even the rescuers of poor countries. And yep, with poor countries we mean any eastern country with thousands and thousands of petroleum. It was not different 500 years ago, when they decided to start buying slaves in Jamestown, Virginia. Slaves that help a lot in collection of raw materials like tobacco, rice, and cotton. Not only that, but building fully trained tracks or the wall from which comes its famous Wall Street. Well, the whole USA. Now, let's talk about how the USA got to have all that territory. All were into that old story about how Santana sold half of Mexico and how the Texans fought for freedom and blah blah blah. Do you want to know the real story? I wouldn't finish, but yeah, you guys right. Slavery.
On the other hand, that was not illegal. Nobody said that was unfair. Some years later, Europe tried to be the cool guy in the classroom and claim the abolition of slavery. But guess who was built up by African slavery as well? So let's not take the credit of to the person who took that brilliant decision. I mean, let's just have a look into Mexico and actually the whole Latin America. They didn't eat and they are not powers of the world. In the new colonies, sugar cane, tobacco, and cotton were labor intensive, and there were not enough settled or indentured servants to cultivate all the new Latin American natives were enslaved. But many died from new diseases while others effectively resist and so to meet the massive demand for labor the Europeans looked to Africa.
African slavery had existed for centuries in various forms. Some sales were indentured servants with a limited terms and the chance to buy one freedom. Others were more like European serfs. In some societies, slaves could be part of the master's family on land and even raised to positions of power. But when whites comes offering manufactured goods, weapons, and room for slave African kings and merchants had little reason to hesitate. By selling them, kings enriched their own realms and strengthened them against neighboring enemies. Black slaves also played a leading role in the development of Southern speech, folklore, music, dancing, and food, blending the cultural traits of their African homelands with those of Europe.
Laws known as the slave codes regulate the slave system to promote absolute control by the master and complete submission by the slave. Under these laws, the slave was chattel, a piece of property and a source of labor that could be bought and sold like an animal. The slave was allowed no stable family life and little privacy. Slaves were prohibited by law from learning to read or write. Individual resistance by slaves took such forms as mothers killing their newborn children to save them from slavery, the poisoning of slave owners, the destruction of machinery and crops, arson, malingering, and running away. The Civil War, which ultimately liberated the country's slaves, began in 1861. Thus, the Civil War became, in effect, a war to end slavery. To sum it up, there is no way the USA would have been the same. But hey, slavery? Brilliant move.